Hey everyone, welcome back to another LEGO video. Today we'll be taking a look at another custom set. This one is based off of one of the upcoming Ninjago 2021 winter sets. This is supposed to be based off of the Ninjago Legacy Tournament of Elements Boulder Blaster, which of course was a set that was released back in 2015. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe, support my channel, and like the video if you guys do enjoy it, and of course follow me on Instagram if you want behind the scenes stuff and other stuff like that. With that being said, I should say that this is of course a custom set, and it is all just speculation. First things first, if you guys didn't watch the last video, well, it was, I think, over a year ago at this point. It was on Kai's Mech Jet, and if you guys do want to go check that out, I'll leave a card in the corner, but of course, that was a while ago, so it's not really a speculation set anymore. So jumping right into this speculation set, we're going to take a look at the Boulder Blaster first. I did build some side builds and some minifigures, obviously, but let's take a look at the actual Boulder Blaster itself first. For those of you that don't know what speculation sets is, it's essentially where I take the set names, set prices, and set piece counts to essentially recreate or speculate what the set might be. In this case, of course, seeing as it's a legacy set, we do have a prior set to go off of, that being the Boulder Blaster, and of course we do have some part counts and prices and obviously set name for the upcoming Legacy 2021 version. Starting up at the front of the Boulder Blaster, you can see it's very similar fundamentally to the original design. The construction of sort of the blaster thing on the front is pretty much identical to the original one, although I have added some new pieces and just a little bit more to kind of make it a little bit more modernized and just look a little bit more like a set that you'd see today. As you would expect, the function works identically to the original design. Obviously, the way you trigger it is a little bit different, but the actual function itself essentially has the kind of front barrel thing rotate, and then all the spring-loaded shooters just kind of fire off in succession. Moving on, you can see there are a lot of pieces that make up the bulk of this middle section of the aircraft, obviously, as well as the cockpit, and there's a lot of details that go into that. Taking a look at some of the side detailing on this aircraft, you can see that there are a lot of pieces that make up the wings, and these are actually kind of an interesting build because they're on one hinge piece down here, and they obviously have some like detailing with this pipe and whatnot, and some other details on top of that. But what's definitely interesting here is I use this piece as sort of a lock brace, if you will, to sort of lock this piece together so that it's really sturdy. This thing is definitely not going to fall off. So essentially, yeah, it's locked in two places. As we move back from that, you can see there's a little bit more detail with some gears there. I'll get into what those are there for. As you would expect, both sides are identical, and they both have quite a bit of detailing, as I said, and it's very sort of steampunky looking. I feel like that's sort of the design that they were going for with this vehicle. It does fit the aesthetic, I guess, of Season 4, but yeah, this is definitely quite interesting. So moving on, what I think is probably the most interesting thing about this recreation of the 2015 set, it's probably the redesign, or I guess re-engineering of the play feature that was integrated into this thing. So obviously in the original design, I assume most people know what that was like if you're watching this video, but if you don't, essentially the way it worked is it had gears on the side that you could spin, and it would of course rotate the barrel thing in the front, as I said, and it would fire off the spring-loaded shooters. But in this case, I changed it a little bit, so there's a bit more of an integrated play feature with the design. What you can do is you can pull this Technic piece down on the back here, and it sort of forms like a handle. That's nothing really that new. That was on the original design as well. In this case, though, instead of using gears to activate the play feature, you actually use this lift arm at the bottom that sort of forms a trigger, I guess you could call it. And this essentially is just connected to some gears, which is connected to a drive shaft, which drives the front bit to rotate and fire off all those spring-loaded shooters. So, a little bit more detail about how this was actually engineered. Obviously, there's a bit of a gear ratio going on here that allows the front bit to spin faster than you actually have to pull the trigger. So basically, the lift arm itself doesn't have to move very far for it to spin the front barrel bit quite a decent distance. This thing definitely makes quite a few rotations in one pull, if you will, of the lift arm. Essentially, the gear ratio here is a larger gear, which is obviously connected to that lift arm. That drives a smaller gear, so you've got a gear speed ratio there. And that is obviously connected to a large bevel gear. That's really just for spacing. Technically, it could have been a smaller one, but whatever. That is then connected to another bevel gear, so we can basically just change the angle of motion, I guess, into this front drive shaft here that just goes through the front, and that connects to the barrel thing in the front, and that's how that spins. So it's not super complicated, but it's definitely a little bit interesting to integrate into this design. Another interesting design thing with this vehicle is definitely the fact that I decided to go on a 5-wide base, which is a really weird thing to do for LEGO. Obviously, that means we're working with odd numbers rather than even numbers, which is kind of a mess, to be honest, with LEGO. I don't know why I spaced this 5-wide. It kind of added a bit of an extra challenge for this design. But anyway, there are some really weird connections that are technically all legal and actually quite sturdy, but but it's just a little interesting here because obviously this is a 5-wide kind of Technic base at the bottom, and that has to go into sort of a 6-wide cockpit up at the top, and it just kind of is a bit of a weird ratio, I guess, of different sizes. The back wings, I guess, are quite self-explanatory. They're very similar, again, to the original design from 2015, but just kind of changed a little bit for this version. As you can see, we've got Cole's sort of insignia on the wings, which is quite a nice little detail, but again, nothing really that impressive. You've got this tail on the back, again, very simple. So moving on from the Boulder Blaster, there is also a side build that I made for this. It's not really all that complex as you would expect. It's very simple. It's essentially just some spring-loaded shooters on this hinge so you can kind of angle it around, and a little bit of Tournament of Elements sort of design going on with it, so it just kind of has the aesthetic of that season. Lastly, let's take a quick look at the figures that I made. There's nothing really crazy here. Obviously, we've got 2 of the villains. These are obviously the Anacondre cultists, I guess that's what they're called. And other than that, we also have a legacy iteration of Cole, which I think is a decent looking figure. It's nothing too insane. Obviously, it just takes the kind of legacy look and combines it with the Season 4 jungle outfits. And the last figure that I thought I'd throw in for this set is actually Klaus, because there's, I think, a decent chance that we might get a Klaus figure in this set. But we'll have to see, I guess. That's kind of just up to what LEGO ends up doing. With that being said, that's really about it for this custom set. Obviously, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you guys did enjoy it. And yeah, I definitely have some other custom sets and speculation sets planned for the rest of this year. There's quite a few things I do want to do, seeing as I'm sort of restarting my channel again now. But yeah, that's really all there is to say about this video. Yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Goodbye.